I'm waiting to find out if Mike is coming. And I have the audience numbers printed. Is she allowed to have a copy of the letters? I don't know, I don't know what the protocol is, that's what I'm asking.
Public record, isn't it? It's becoming public record, well,
Oh, you don't have to sign me.
You're sitting there, yeah.
I know.
When you're done, you hand it back over. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and call the meeting to order. This is Plan Commission, October 3rd. We're calling the meeting to order at 6:33. Do roll call. Mitchell,
Here.
Schultz,
Here.
Catchings,
Yes.
Johnson.
Here.
Wright,
here,
Tygel. Absent. That is here. Cole
here,
and Wood is absent. So our first order of business is to approve the minutes from September 5th. We also have minutes from October 1st that we need to approve. Did everybody get those minutes? Not October 1st, August 1st, I'm sorry. Did everybody get those minutes? We'll start with the
if
September.
there's no additions or corrections to either set of the minutes, I will move that we approve both sets.
Okay. Somebody wanna
I
second,
second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
So, first order of business, our second order. We have a petition for zoning amendment for the property owned by Jessica Lamar located at 401 West Schultz Street. I passed out a couple letters that we received from neighbors. I don't know. Do you guys want me to read these aloud? Do you wanna? I don't know, wanna handle this. Didn't really have a whole lot of time to read them, so.
It helps at all. What I have prepared, I think will address some of the concerns that they do have in that letter.
Okay, let's go ahead and let Jessica speak then.
Do you mind if I enter to pass these out?
No, that's not.
You have another one, Jessica? I think I sent these all out to them.
No, there's something that were not sent out. So, I don't know, I'm sure everybody, I'm gonna be very upfront and honest on all this, that I am extremely frustrated, so I'm gonna try and hold my composure the best I can. But bear with me. Online, there was a statement of facts in regards to changing the zoning that had 4 points on it that I will address throughout kind of everything I'm gonna share with you guys. I'm also gonna give you some history on the property that I think is relevant, so I appreciate you guys' time and listening while I'm going through all this. On the statement of facts that I know that you guys were provided, on the first one, I just wanted to notate that the property addresses that I'll be speaking of are 401 West Shute Street. And then on that same parcel is a house that I refer to as the cottage at 315 South Monroe. Trying to decide on the order here. Basically, following my divorce in 2021, I had to sell the house that I had and loved and relocate me and my 2 children. In April of 2022, I went under contract on a property located at 401 West Shutes. That is a single parcel with 2 homes sitting on it, and I knew that they had been occupied for many years when the late Jim Reese owned them. So if you're familiar, I've been here before with some of you, I know when we talked about it. When I went in to get the occupancy, I was informed that I could not rent the second dwelling, and I was told that I would need to sign a paper understanding I couldn't do so that I could get occupancy for myself and my kids. I went ahead and decided to do that and said I would fight this battle later. I had my occupancy inspection with Terry Weil, and he passed the cottage at 315 South Monroe, but there was a couple things that had failed on the main house, and since there was only 1 occupancy, I was told that I was not going to be allowed to live there until both homes could pass. After inviting Sherry down to the property and walking her around, we agreed that I could have a temporary occupancy on the cottage, but that all the repairs would need to be made on the main home before I would relocate into it because I had planned a big renovation and redoing a lot in it anyways. After settling in, I decided to come up here, and I came to Plan Commission and asked if I could at least run the second home as a short-term rental once I moved out. And on September 26, 2022, that special use permit was granted, which you will find a copy of in the packet here. I do still intend to run this as an Airbnb. I am not changing how the property is functioning right now. That is still my intentions. You will see that I have a copy of the minutes from the September 12th, 2022 meeting, where it says the Plan Commission recommends approving a request by Jessica Edwards-Zerlini for a special use permit for a property at 401. And the restrictions were a minimum of a 2-night stay, off-street parking, 2 adults, and the permit is only valid for the current property owner. Alderman Farrow and Wilkins motioned to move forward with writing a resolution and an ordinance with the recommendation that the Plan Commission but amending the minimum 2-night stay. That motion passed 8-0. You then can see a copy of the special use permit with all of that issue that I was given this. On the facts that were provided to you guys prior to this meeting, it says in number 4 that I had possibly breached my contract because I had moved off of the property. I moved to the house across the street. That is true. I am not trying to lie on that. However, at the time when I came to Plan Commission and came to council to get my special use permit, I spoke to the city attorney and we had a conversation that no other Airbnb in town had been issued a permit with a clause that they had to reside on the same premise. And so therefore mine could not have that as well. And so they said that that did not need to be a restriction. And so therefore it was removed at that time. So I have not breached any contract. However, at that time I was told I would need to get inspections. And Luann informed me that the property would still be considered under 1 occupancy so that I could not do anything with the property until both dwellings were able to pass the single occupancy inspection. After completing the main house, I went to update the insurance for the property and get my affairs in order to move forward with the plan that I originally initiated in 2022. Through that, I discovered that because the city recognized this property as 1 occupancy, if there is some kind of disaster to the cottage, such as a fire, tornado, whatever it may be, I would not be able to rebuild that home back. I would be out the investment that I made altogether, and this information was confirmed by City Hall. In your packet, you will find a copy of my bank statements. illustrating that I have paid 2 water and sewer bills on this property since I purchased it. I was required to put 2 water deposits down. I have 2 Ameren bills on the property. The post office and 911 both recognize the homes as 2 separate addresses of 315 South Monroe and 401 West Shoots. When the city forwarded all our personal information to the new trash service, I was delivered 2 trash cans and 2 recycling bins. Also in your packet, you will find the St. Clair County parcel record card. For this parcel, one side will show you that a single family dwelling is assessed at $116,955 that was built in 1942, which is the main house at 401 West Shoots. The back side of that paper is going to show you that a single family dwelling house assessed at $100,476 was built in 1949. This property is 2 separate homes according to everyone, even the city of Lebanon, except for when it comes to occupancy. When I paid and requested for this to be placed on the agenda for you this evening, I was asking to rezone the property because 1.5 years ago, that's what I was told that was my best course. I could either split the parcel, which is not ideal because of where the sewer lines run, or I needed to rezone it multifamily. I will touch on that in a minute as well. In your packet, you will find a letter that was brought to my attention just this week after I had already been put on your guys' agenda. It was issued from the city of Lebanon to Mr. Reese, and it states, "Dear Mr. Reese, September 28, 2015, the property located at 315 South Monroe Street, which is on the same lot of 501 West Shoots, was grandfathered in when zoning ordinance 1151 was passed. You surrendered the grandfather protection by proposing to alter the small house. This is when he added a bedroom onto the back of that house. On September 24th, 2015, the Zoning Board of Appeals heard and granted a request to allow a second residence, 315 South Monroe, on the same lot, and it lists my parcel number, and to build an addition of 136 square feet to the existing 432 square foot house that was there, making a total living space of 568. This memorandum will be attached to your building permit as a permanent document. Sincerely, Mayor Rich Wilkin at that time." Therefore, my problem on this is that on your fact sheet that you received on number 2, this property is not considered grandfathered. It was voted in under the Zoning Board of Appeals to have 2 homes on it back in 2015. All that being said, I not only missed out on collecting thousands of dollars in what I could have collected in rent money, I have spent thousands of dollars in paying utilities on 2 different properties. I spent another $110 to be in front of you tonight. To say I'm frustrated may be the understatement of the year. So I'm requesting tonight that the Plan Commission help me find the best way for the city and I, whether that may be zoning, amending an ordinance, issuing a special use permit, or whatever it may be, to make sure that I don't have to fight this fight again in the event of a total loss when I have had devastation to my property, or heaven forbid something happens to me and my kids are having to deal with it. This property has been approved by the city in the past to operate as 2 single-family homes. I am not trying to change anything that has been done down there for years. I am not trying to change anything that I'm doing with it now. All I would like is that if something happens, I can rebuild my house. That's it, both of them. I know the letter that I just received and was reading through, it's got concerns with zoning at multifamily. As you guys can see in the packet that I gave you, the last page was just kind of an example. This one happens to come from the city of Urbana. It's just one that I found. There's many areas that allow separated single-family homes on one parcel. I don't know if the answer is to rezone it and amend the ordinance under that zoning. I don't know if it's to give me a special use for the zoning of that to be 2 single-family homes that can transfer on sale. But I just don't want to go through this hell again, is what I'm asking. That's all I have. Any questions or anything I'll let you guys talk and you can address anything towards me you would like.
You don't know whether those were 2, back in 42, I don't know how far back your research went, but those two separate parcels that the guy just bought, they combined them into one parcel.
No, they were, I believe from what I found that they were one. I could be wrong.
Just one big large parcel.
Yes, yeah, I do know that when Jim Reese bought it in '05, I do know that he was renting it and had people living in that, and I've talked to several people who were residents of that cottage before it had the bedroom added on to it and then some after.
And it's probably the same size of all the other ones on that block, isn't it?
Yeah.
Basically, they're all that SR
Trying to
three.
find out what your base problem is, having two places on one. And you, if I remember what you stated correctly, was that if one of these goes down, you can't rebuild
Correct, yeah, the
it.
way this.
You're stuck with one house on that if something else happens.
Correct, yeah, the way it reads right now, the city would grant me permission to rebuild the house. Now, with the zoning board of appeals approving that, I don't know. In 15, I don't know exactly what would happen, but I would like it to just be clear and not muddy.
And what was the reason that they gave you that it was not possible to divide parcels, have two separate parcels?
Cause it makes it too small and we don't allow anything, anything smaller than 10,000 square foot now. They put a limit on SR threes and hers just is like 9,000 something, I think.
The
And
total,
so if you,
So
we don't have anything to,
the minimum
Allow it.
lot area is 10,000 square feet or 2,500 square feet for each additional over 4, it says.
that's, I think, has
So-
something to do with
when
triplexes.
That's for
know-
multifamily.
We've got the third oldest college in the United States,
I'm sorry, what? Oh, we
and
didn't.
there's a thing called growth from within. We have a lot of old buildings. This young lady unfortunately she's got a situation where not of her making. But this isn't really complicated. I won't say a mistake was made, but you can't lock yourself in on the 10,000 square feet that's required now. Because that house was built in 42.
I mean,
9/11 has recognized it as a proper address. That speaks volumes to me. So I got to say.
all I know is it's here because I'm the clerk. When things come to me, I have to evaluate it based on your ordinances. And that's why it's here, because it doesn't fit anything.
And we propose to have a variance to the ordinance based on the building date of this home. To include a lot size appropriate at the time of 1942 to include the home to today.
Don't ask me. they're
I think this
lawyers.
would still be
think
a
it would.
special use permit.
I think, yeah, that's the minimum we can do. In other words, it's really 2 lots.
Yeah. seems to me.
It is. The evidence is here. The evidence is right here. We can establish a law. But it doesn't override the evidence. Because you have to give that owner the right to either to amend the property to meet the order. But that's just an opinion. Yes.
Sharon.
There's probably, the ordinance probably needs to be looked at by the council, because there's a lot of houses here that are less than 1,000 square feet, a lot of them. And if something happens, back in the day, it would be fixed. Now, because they don't allow less than 1,000 square feet, those people wouldn't be able to rebuild their house
It'll make.
Yeah.
unless they go. So I honestly, I understand what you're saying, Jack,
Yeah.
and, you know, it's,
Well, yeah, what Sherry's saying, she's right, there are a whole bunch of homes like that, I'm just thinking of a couple of them, I know there's at least one on
I'm
Center
looking at
Street.
two.
yeah.
Yeah, for example.
I'm looking
I
out the
mean,
window at
and
two.
so then if something happens, then what do you do with the lot? Then you say, well, you can't use that lot because it's not big enough. So it just sits vacant then forever? That's just about dumb.
There's one next to me that's been vacant for 19 years.
You
that I
guys,
put in
like,
my
I
house.
actually expected the square footage to come up, so I have the ordinance that says that it has to be 1,000 square feet, and I can show you, I made a copy as well for each of you. But just in our block, here, I'll just pass this out.
Thank you.
Just in our block on Shoot Street and around, when you flip to the second page, the pink box is where my property is that has the two houses. All the green, just in those two blocks, are the houses that on St. Clair County are reporting under 1,000 square feet. As a person who is very familiar with lots of people in insurance, it is a great concern of mine that people are insuring their homes for what they are. And if this ordinance is reading that it has to be 1,000 square feet, my front house, I know the paper says it's 100 square feet, that's only including the garage, it's only 816 of living space. So my front house is also under 1,000 square feet, and if I have a fire in it and have to rebuild at 1,000 square feet, I am going to be underinsured. Most likely, like every single one of these people in these homes that are highlighted, because insurance doesn't have an automatic built-in amount. Now, some carriers will offer a 10% or a minimal limit of it to bring it up to code, but that's also bringing your electrical up to code and everything else. That will not be sufficient. So this is of great concern for mine going forward, and I will be bringing that to planning commission as a resident with property and as an insurance professional. But yeah, that is absolutely something that has to be addressed. That's what there's so many things when I dug into this, there's so many issues with this property that I didn't even know where to begin, but ultimately, I just want to make sure that my investment is protected, because it does have two homes on it. I will speak to, I have not confirmed it, but if I remember correctly, Penny was not in favor of us trying to split the parcel, because I believe the sewer line runs through part of the yard of the front house to get to the cottage. And so I don't want to divide the parcel, so if there's ever a sale, you can't sell the houses separately, they would always be sold together because of that shared sewer line, otherwise it would create issues later. But otherwise, outside of that, that's where they're all treated as separate. And I don't know if they're in the same tap into the city line, because I also thought that was interesting, because there's a second tap fee that's been paid in the years, and then obviously I'm paying two sewer bills. So I would assume there's two lines, but I do know that she said it crosses somewhere in the property. I do not know exactly where though. But that's why I didn't go and try and divide it.
You have two insurance policies or you have one?
I have two.
Yep. I agree with Glenville. I mean, it's two separate properties.
I did speak to one of Jessica's immediate neighbors, and they are in support of her being able to rent one as an Airbnb and her having long-term rental in the other. Looking at some of these names, some of these people live fairly far up the hill from Jessica. They're not her immediate neighbor. They live a few streets over, things like that. Not that I'm completely dismissing these letters, but you know, I do know that her immediate neighbor is in support, or one of her immediate neighbors is in support. I spoke to them this afternoon.
I will share too, with the two properties. Like, I know they're concerned about it being sold multifamily and the ins and outs and everything. The first house on the corner there on Shoot Street, when you're coming down the hill, is already a rental property. It has had 3 different residents in it in the last couple of years. The one that the big tree fell on, if you drove past it, it's a rental
Oh,
property.
next to Jeff's?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a rental house. And right now, I have a special use permit that I have not breached contract with. That I can run it as an Airbnb, which means I can have different people in there every couple days.
Right.
And so if it gets rezoned multifamily, the only thing that happens is I'm gonna do a background check and a credit check on a tenant that's gonna be in there long term versus somebody coming in there every few nights. So it's not gonna devalue anything. And like I said, the county's already looking at it as if there's 2 homes there. So their concerns, I understand their concerns if I was trying to build a new duplex or I was trying to build another multifamily. I'm just trying to make what I have legal. Like, I'm not trying to change how it's operating at
You
all.
say you get 2 separate tax bills.
It is one tax bill, it's just on the parcel on that one thing, it's listed as two separate structures and listed as single family. And when I called the county, they said they assessed them both as homes, that's why the one is assessed over $100,000 and not just like it would be if it was just a shed or something.
Does it have a parcel number?
I'm sorry,
You have
One
two
parcel.
parcel numbers?
one parcel number,
One
that's the
parcel
problem.
number.
That's the problem.
Mr. Tramming,
So we need.
We own a house at 322 West D, almost half the South Street, across the street. Don't have any problem with this whatsoever. One of the things that's been found out, according to the city ordinance, according to the documents you have, this has been grandfathered. We've had issues.
Yeah, that's.
It was grandfathered and then they voted it in again in 2015.
Took it out of being grandfathered.
He did an addition on the back, so when you amend the property that was grandfathered, it devotes your grandfathering. So he added the addition on the back with the bedroom, and so therefore it voided his grandfathering, and he had a tenant. And so he came up to zoning board of appeals and asked for it to be back made whole again. And so they voted and issued that and approved that then.
Okay, I got you. Basically, I don't have a problem with it. However, it suits you to make this work. I have non-conforming these grandfathered properties in time myself. It's an issue if it's totally destroyed, cannot rebuild it, but it can be repaired. Repaired, this can.
As long as they don't take it all out.
as long as another big tree doesn't fall on it,
Right.
take the whole thing.
The tree falls on it. I'm not sure what we can do.
Well, it seems like these are two issues. There's
Yeah.
the rental issue and there's the property,
Property
the
issue.
lot issue. So it's not just one thing that is being discussed at this point.
I agree.
And there's no way because of the size of it that we can make it two separate parcels?
Well, we
Well, but if they
could, but we can't because of the
Sewer.
sewer that runs.
All right,
through.
yeah. she can say that. Okay.
Separating it's out of the line because it'd be, if that would happen, then they each have like, wouldn't they each have to have an easement for to use the
Yes,
sewer?
the sewer line would get very messy
Yes.
if you. no pun
As
intended.
sewer lines do.
If there was an issue with it crossing into the other yard.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is that, because then it can be sold, you're gonna run into the issue I ran into with the property that my building's on. You know, long years ago, it was two parcels, but they were owned by the same person, so they allowed a sewer line to be ran through it. And then I bought the front parcel, and there was not due diligence done to make sure that the lateral was all in good standing. And therefore now I had no longer had access to the lateral that was connected to my property. It would be the same thing that we would walk into this, and I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Again, but yeah, it really, and that's why I don't know if it's a matter of Lebanon adding, you know, a clause that homes that were, you know, maybe you can have a 2-family detached zoning
So,
prior to, you know, now, so we wouldn't allow it to be built now, but the ones that are like that, it would accept. I don't know if I'm the only one in this situation.
probably.
That's how life goes, so it may be that way.
Can we define one as a home and the other as a rental? Not a home, but a rental?
I don't think there's any way that the city can control what's rented versus what's owned. Because if it's a single family home, there's nothing that says that you can rent it versus own it.
Understand.
Okay. That'd be the route to go.
And you wanted me to take notes tonight?
Okay.
It's a good thing it's being recorded.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, this is why it's here, because this has come up and up and up, and they, back there, they don't know how to handle it, and
I'll be honest with you, I don't really know which direction to go.
And
with
this,
it either.
and this is
Well, it-
not an isolated case, I take it?
I'm gonna guess it probably isn't.
So far, it's the only one we've come across,
Yeah,
but it could come up again.
Yeah.
There are many
You want
homes.
Airbnb in both
The remaining homes
No.
are small.
No,
She
I
wants
already
a
have
long-
the Airbnb where I need the Airbnb. I don't need that to be, and the way I read it, and unless you guys read it wrong, there's nothing in those minutes nor in that certificate that says that I have to live on that property. So I don't believe I have breached my Airbnb contract in any way. So that should still be standing. To where the only question
Okay,
is how,
So what's the thing about the one on Shoot Street, the one that faces Shoot?
At 410?
That's
Yeah.
401.
401.
it's being rented, but it's still just a single family
Yeah.
home, just like the Airbnb is.
And
It's just two single family homes sitting on one parcel, and technically we don't have a zoning for that.
right, and just, correct me if I'm wrong, each house has just one bedroom, right? Or
Yes,
is, yeah, I mean,
yeah.
these aren't houses that have, you know,
Yeah.
multiple bedrooms in them where you'd have cars parked all over the place.
Yeah, well, and they both have their own designated off-street parking.
Yeah.
So the Airbnb, we designated the cottage has the carport next to it. I know this letter also speaks to the school traffic on Monroe Street, which I live on the corner of Shute Street. I of all people know the traffic at the school. That's why we made sure that the carport goes with the cottage house so that it allows them to park off the street. And then the other house has a driveway and a garage. So they both have their own individual off-street parking, so that's
Yeah.
not a concern either.
On this property, was there also a little, little cabin in between the two?
It's a carport. Yeah,
It's a
It's like
carport.
a
A
carport
long
with a
time
shed?
ago, there used to be a chicken coop there, but
Okay.
it was
Oh,
torn
okay.
down a long time ago.
we allowed chicken coops there.
You can have up to
We're
4
talking almost 20 years ago, there was a chicken coop there.
Isn't that just a shed in between the two of them?
Yeah, there's a shed there too,
Right.
Yeah.
that like the lawnmower and stuff. can
Yeah.
go in, But,
So what should?
So,
I think this could be a special use permit. But that's my opinion, or
Yeah.
to allow her to not have to live in the front
Well,
house to have the.
you
let
don't
me
even have to do
clarify
this.
that,
That's
that was
already-
on,
that- okay.
the reason why I stated
That
is
should-
on the original thing. There was a whole packet that was, Mike made me attach to the thing, and that's it, and that was where you state them. There was minutes from your, I think the plan minutes said, something about that you were gonna live in the front part, and so that's how they perceived it, so that's why I believe we just convert the special use
But that was
with
never,
that and take that out.
but that stipulation was never listed in that initial special use permit, that she would have to live in that front property.
And it shouldn't.
That was left,
shouldn't
that was
have been.
left out.
Yeah.
So whomever did that,
Yeah, cause in the
Forgot
first
the-
function in the minutes, it's not
didn't-
listed.
right, I know, that's what I'm saying. The agreement, as I recall, was that you had said that you were gonna live there.
Mhm.
And that you were gonna rent the other was gonna be an Airbnb.
Right.
But the special use permit, as it was issued, didn't include that information, so.
Cause it
Yeah.
wasn't listed
True.
on the one part is what you're saying, since
Yeah,
it wasn't
Right.
listed.
It's not here.
Not that it was not a packet of it, exhibit A or whatever it was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Okay.
it says planning
That makes
commission
sense.
recommends approval.
You know.
For
that was
SUP.
left out.
Short-term rental restriction, minimum 2 nights. It does not say anything about her having to live on the property owner. It says only valid for current property owner, but it does not say she had to live there.
And the reason for the 2 nights was so that it wasn't considered quick flip.
correct,
So-
yeah, and that actually, I think, also got removed because they hadn't put it on the other Airbnb things that had been issued.
Mhm.
They didn't require it, and so when it was looked at between the plan commission and the council meeting,
Right.
there was more research done, and it was found that none of the other ones required you to stay on premise, and there was not a 2-night minimum, and so that came up in conversation, and it was amended, I think, due to that.
Okay.
But I think I have, after finding the zoning board of appeals had already reviewed all of this and the special, clarifying some stuff on the special use permit. I think a special use permit could be issued allowing for 2 single-family homes to operate on the one parcel. I just wanna make sure that it says that it's transfer on sale and that it's recorded as not something that is, I'm gonna have to come back and deal with down the road, or if I pass away and it goes to my kids then are inheriting a shit show.
So
The
special use
special
permits expire with sale.
So that's that's my only issue with the special use, is I don't know how to make it to where this is a recorded thing in the city of making a wrong right. And it not being something when my kids inherit it down the road, that they're not right back here starting at the same battle.
You can't transfer a special use permit.
That's, yeah,
That's it.
So it's gonna take several steps to back it up, to fix it, but the first step is the special use.
Yeah.
for now.
That buys us
Yeah,
some
for now.
time
Ron,
to make the change.
Go with the variance, it's transferable.
Right.
Then you don't have to mess with it, you're done. The variance stays with the property, special use permit does not. But
Our variance did not. We had to take down our home project.
that's
Is-
not driving goal.
Your major concern though is the replacement of one of those structures. If something goes sideways, right? That's the main
That's the
deal.
yeah, the main,
And-
yeah,
And so that is something that probably should be that paramount. That's what you should really be looking at,
Jessica,
doing something about that.
If that's what you're looking for, really, then you need to have an amended ordinance as opposed to a special use.
yeah, that's what I was thinking, if you, is it, you have to have it here and that, an answer tonight, and then vote on it the next council meeting, do you have like one?
well, I mean, as long as it doesn't catch on fire right now, I'm good to
know.
go, but I don't know when something's gonna
I was,
happen.
I was just thinking that maybe we should,
You should
take this, well, and talk to lawyers about it, to be able to write the right thing for
Yeah,
them.
well, what you really need is an ordinance amendment in order, and not just for you, like you
Right.
mentioned before, there's all sorts of homes here in
Yeah.
town that might apply to.
Yeah, and that's why, like, the 1,000 square, I want it, I selfishly want it handled in 2 steps between the 1,000 square foot and the other one, simply because I don't want it to be drug out their ordinance for 6 months and then something happened in my house and I'm. At least if we get something
yeah.
on my property, if I have to rebuild it 1,000 square feet, at least I can rebuild. It'll be a 2-story building, but, cause it's not no way this way. But I just wanna make sure, I work in insurance, people only call me when bad things happen and they never expected them, so it terrifies me every day that we have this property that we have known now that we have an investment that we made into 2 homes, and ultimately, the city has been telling us that you're kind of out of luck if something happens to the other one, because we're not gonna let you rebuild it.
Well, that's-
As the ordinance written now.
yeah, I know, but we can't issue a special use. I mean, I don't know how you would do that.
I think the ordinance needs to be updated.
Yeah.
And Monday night, the 7th, is ordinance committee, and you should be able to get it on the
They've got a
agenda.
lot on their plate that night, but.
Well, there's
and maybe we
something
can get,
that you
at
could
least
take
Mike
on.
can start looking at it.
Yeah, there's something, it needs to be on there so that it can be talked about.
But if you, if the smaller properties, smaller building, something happened to it. You would build it as a larger building at that point, or you would keep it the same size? I mean, it seems like isn't the part of the problem again is that it's smaller than what it should be. So that if you said, well, this was destroyed, I'm gonna build an 1,100 square foot, that would be okay?
Yeah, I mean, most likely we'd probably build, if something happened, we'd probably build back on the same, hopefully the foundation's good,
Right.
and we just build back on the same foundation.
Same size.
Yeah, it's just the way that it reads right now is we would be forced to build it bigger,
Right.
but like I
But,
said,
but there would be nothing would keep you from doing that. It would, okay.
yeah, as long as I am allowed to rebuild, then worst case, I'd have to be built bigger. I just think in general, that's an ordinance that needs to die, but.
They won't allow 2 insurance policies, will
I have 2 insurance policies on
Yeah,
it.
she does.
Insurance will pay out. The city won't let me build it.
See, this, you got a legal description,
they? Yeah.
then you got the city ordinances, this is messed up.
I agree with you.
Like,
Yeah, let's see
I've
what.
been saying that.
And I don't know if we can solve
Yeah.
Yeah,
it. This is above our pay grade.
yeah, I think so too.
yeah,
But I think they have
Well-
to be, go to the ordinance people.
well, what you can do is make a recommendation that we approach the lawyer to figure out how to write a correct ordinance that will take into consideration. And maybe that's what we need you to do, write down, what do you want a new ordinance that you can think of that are in conflict with how we are living in Lebanon?
Can we form a subcommittee of 2 or more people to go to this board? To the zoning board, to the zoning,
You are the zoning people.
well, to the zoning, on Monday night.
Oh, the ordinance.
Yes,
Okay.
I'd like representation directly on,
And the
People can
meeting,
show up.
Yes.
Yeah, attend the meeting.
we can
I would
attend.
love
it.
somebody else to come Monday night other than just me trying to explain this.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, formally to it. That way we're not just representing 2 independent people, we're representing the
Planning commission.
planning commission.
Okay.
There's a difference.
Yeah,
There was a little bit of a difference. At least it says we address the problem.
okay, it could be put on there on the agenda, something to the effect of the planning commission. Requests a meeting or a discussion of the ordinance
A discussion.
concerning
And you.
zoning of
Yeah, because
residential property.
it's about multiple properties,
Mhm.
not just the one.
Right,
This is just the case to bring it up.
I'm gonna
But
go
now
out
we
there
have to
and
solve the
say
issue.
my property probably falls under the same category. Because my property was two parcels in the split at one time.
Like I said, I called the county, I talked to 3 different people trying to see if there was a way to run a list of by square footage within a zip code or anything. They have no database that'll let you, so you literally have to go in and click on the property record
Yep.
card and look at the square footage. And so I was only willing to give the time to do those couple blocks, but I think almost every house on Mary Jane Street, probably close to half your houses on D Street, all this older part of town, all of these homes are affected.
are we really having to worry about that because a grandfathered in parcel, if it burns, they can build the exact same thing?
Your letter to them with the facts says that when it's conforming to it by grandfathered in, that if you change it, that it's not conforming anymore.
it's not
It's not
great.
It's not grandfathered in anymore. That's what
You
your
mean-
number 2 says.
yeah,
Because
I'm
it's,
saying that if there's a property and it has a house that's 900 square feet instead of 1,000. If it's grandfathered in, you can build on the same same footing, because I know there was one over on the corner of Staunton and. Is that Merrill? No. Yeah, Merrill. It used to be a Fresh Hours house. They tore it down and rebuilt on the foundation. And then later on, they asked to put on an extension. So when they first rebuilt it, it was exactly on the foundation, and I know it's small.
Well, that's what the letter that you addressed from the attorney says, that once removed, the non-conforming lot, structure or use is no longer grandfathered.
So her house isn't grandfathered
That's-
because Jim added a bedroom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so they fixed it, but so any house that is under 1,000 square feet is removed because of a loss, and they go to rebuild it. It is no longer grandfathered in to the 1,000 square footage and would have to come up to code according to the letter you provided from.
No,
the-
that's what the
Yeah,
whole thing
so
says.
it's,
If this, you're concerned about losing this property. If this is all in motion, while, forget, hopefully nothing will happen, but if this is in motion and something does happen, will that give you any kind of leverage as far as doing something about that?
it would all be between the city. My insurance policy.
Yeah.
Has no issue insuring the property. It's a matter of, so I can give you guys an example. I don't know if you guys are familiar, I won't share their name. A friend of mine had a rental house in Edwardsville. They're here local. They've shared it with a lot of people, but they had a rental house in Edwardsville. It had another house behind it and it was not zoned properly. So when it burnt down, the city of Edwardsville did not let them rebuild. And so not only did the whole assessed value of that property change to where they had to deal with their mortgage company and everything else, they lost their rental income and then lost their future rental income because they couldn't rebuild it. So they did get their insurance gave them some money, but they couldn't do anything with it.
Right.
And that's what, and when you have an insurance claim and it's a total loss claim like that, if you don't rebuild the structure, you don't get 100% like you
Correct.
would. So you would get a portion of it. And so I would just be out a certain amount of money, and to say, like, who's to know what I could go and buy ground to be able to build a house to get my same equal investment back, especially at the price of parcels these days.
See, so it's not just Lebanon that's got these ordinances that are not right.
That's a lot of houses,
That is a lot of
Yeah.
houses.
and that's just one street.
If you're talking about going to the ordinance committee, you can pick two people, two of us could go. Past that, you get a majority of quorum for a public body, and then you'd have to post that,
Yeah.
go through everything else.
There's only two of you that can go.
Yeah, too.
I'll sit there and shut up the whole time. That's
No, that
it.
doesn't count.
Oh. Well,
So,
it's the day before my birthday. I
so
will
with
see
three
it.
of us, it's a quorum and we have to publish it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. it's majority
Which
of quorum
means you have
of
to
the
publish
public
it, agenda and all that.
Yeah.
If two of you wanna go, I will skip it. It's
Oh,
the
yeah,
day
no, it'd
before
be a
my
public
birthday.
meeting for the planning commission if three of us go. As a
Yeah,
body.
so
Yeah.
two can go.
Okay.
Two can
So,
go, three
so
cannot.
so announce there's going to be one and show up.
Well, yeah,
So
You can do that, but you have to have an agenda, you have to
And I have
have
to
everything
post
else.
it,
So
it's
that's
gotta be
posted,
report on the
that, and everything
website.
else, yeah.
Let's just pick two people to go.
Pain in the ass.
Two people to go.
That's why they just did handshake deals back in the day.
Yes.
And if we were in Texas, it would still be valid.
Exactly.
Does anybody want to go Monday?
I can go,
I'll go. Yeah,
I could go.
Okay. So you
I will
got to.
stay home Monday. I'm
Monday
Happy to.
here at 7,
6:30.
6:30.
All meetings are.
All
6:30.
meetings, got it.
That's why we changed this one to 6:30, because they were like, that's at 6:30 and 7. Yeah, it was a mess.
And Jessica, of course, you're welcome to come if they say.
Do you want my packet again?
Talk to
We
these
can have
guys.
it back if you need it.
Okay.
No, I understand. It's about protecting investment, right? For the city. It
Well,
isn't just one issue. It's potentially multiple.
Well, it's not just my investment either. I mean, if something were to happen, it's gonna be a property that the city's gonna want to be cleaned up, and you're gonna want that rebuilt, and it's
Sure.
gonna, I mean, especially if we do move away from the Airbnb and ever put it, like, it's still either bringing people to town, staying in a Airbnb, or it's gonna allow another home for another young couple or a college kid or whoever it may be to rent, but it's providing housing to the city.
And there's reasons why grandfather clauses are in there, because. And reasons why, they wanna follow the ordinances, because. I'm just gonna say improprieties or things that don't fit in. The object of grandfathering is allow that to happen until something happens and it's no longer a problem. But a lot of times, like in Jessica's case, and I know a few others, that if you go that route, it sounds good, but she does lose that income and future income from it. So that's
Makes me worried.
but
that's why this is here. This is why you guys need to decide what you wanna do with it, if you wanna.
Well, I think sending two people to the
Yes.
ordinance committee to explain our position, that we think it's an ordinance problem and they should address it.
Yeah, because I mean, it's not my,
And
I'm just the
legitimate.
interpreter of the facts, and that's the statute says I have to do it.
well, I think this is a bigger problem than just her property
Yes.
also. I came into this thinking it was going to be, something that was just her issue, but it
But
looks
it
like
looks
it's a
like
bigger
it's
issue.
bigger. And
I hadn't even thought about the rebuilding, even ones that are a single house on a single piece of property. If that's how the insurance company goes,
Yeah, they're gonna value it
That-
off of what's there.
yeah,
That's gonna
and
value
then.
it off of what, they have no way of knowing what the ordinance has changed to, that they need to increase it. I don't know. But even
Yeah.
then, they're still only, they're not gonna over insure for what,
Correct.
that you put, like, they're gonna insure for what the property is.
And it does limit what you can do. I mean,
No.
say for instance, you didn't have any, that was just a lot. And, or a house and it burned down. You might wanna build a bigger one, and if a bigger one will fit on that lot and meet all the setbacks and all that stuff. I don't think we should have an ordinance that says that you can't do that.
And we do.
And we
Well, and in
do.
today's world, the other thing to kind of, a different caveat that I've kind of heard people talking about is in today's world, people are moving towards tiny homes and trying to simplify and not, and I mean, I lived in that house with my 2 kids. And I'll tell you right now, like, if I was single or like, I would have never moved out. It was wonderful. My utilities were so cheap. I had everything I needed. I had a bathroom, a laundry room, a kitchen, a living room and a bedroom. To where if you didn't have a bunch of kids or anything, like it was wonderful and I could have saved so much money and probably retired early. But and that was half the square footage that we require in this town. And so it's just, especially, I feel like tiny homes and stuff have kind of blown up. It's just not realistic for what I think our society is moving towards either. In my opinion.
And that might be another zoning that we could have, you know.
That's what we need.
You know, like in on property that people are not wanting to develop on because it costs too much money to buy or to build a, you know, such and such size house. But especially if we have an area that, like we have areas for modular homes, manufactured homes. Tiny homes could be in there because a lot of your manufactured homes are not that big.
Yeah, and I don't know if you remember when I was, before I went on council, there was a gentleman that came in here when I was attending the meetings and he had a property that was not big enough to build 2 houses. And they wouldn't allow him to put he wanted to put 2 houses on that property and they said it didn't meet this and he ended up not developing anything. And I don't know what's happened with that parcel or where it is now.
It's empty.
It's still
It's still
vacant,
empty.
but so I was on council years ago now, so that,
Which one?
10 years ago, we may have possibly been able to have 2 other houses in town when we're complaining we don't have housing. So,
Oh, yeah, well, that went to the zoning board of appeals and they nixed it because the neighborhood didn't want
Yeah.
a duplex on there. That's what it,
I think he was trying to put 2 single, wasn't he trying to put
No,
2 separate
no,
houses?
duplex.
It was a duplex. at
Because you
first.
know, evil people live in duplexes.
Yeah,
no, it's just that duplexes take up more room than a normal house because you have to do the driveways different, the parking areas, you can't have, you can't put in parking where one car can't get out without moving a car.
Correct.
And that's
Yeah, I understand.
where a
well,
lot of the
actually,
problems
if you
come.
don't have an HOA, having 2 single family homes on a parcel versus a duplex would actually be better for the city. Because
If
what
they
happens
can
if
lay
you
it
go
out.
out to the Knolls right now, with all the hailstorms we have, you see all the zipper roofs.
Oh,
Which jeopardizes the integrity of the whole building and everything every time they do that because they don't have HOAs out there. So if you were allowing 2 houses to be built on the same parcel, it actually would probably make the city be able to enforce maintenance on one property a little better and keep houses looking nicer, but
yeah,
If I can just kind of summarize, what
yes.
we promised to do is to engage with the
Ordinance committee.
ordinance committee as a way forward, come back and then report to this committee on the way ahead. And we'll just have to think it through and put the community interest ahead.
and then the ordinance committee can move forward
Right.
with trying to come up with.
We'll just have to partner with
Yeah.
on getting it rewritten.
I appreciate it. I knew you guys didn't have a magic wand to fix this overnight, so I just appreciate you guys hearing me out and at least being willing to help me move it forward to where I can have some kind of resolution going forward.
Right.
This isn't, you know, a multi-family residence like people are thinking it is. It's not,
Right.
you know, you're not putting apartments there, you're not building duplexes, anything like that. You're not changing the look of the property,
It's-
so.
I would recommend and propose that we open an issue. And that it not be resolved tonight, but that we go to the ordinance committee to have a standing committee to work this particular issue until we get a proposal to this body. And then we leave it open. Each meeting, we should readdress our status.
Just put it under
That way, everybody can comment in the
unfinished
city.
business.
Right, and leave it open. We're concerned about parcels in the community and let the whole community see it. I think it'd be,
So
to be transparent.
let's put it on the minutes as we're going to put together a two-person committee or whatever.
Representation.
Representation.
Yeah.
There you go.
Careful with language.
Representation. Let's make a motion to put together a two-person representation to go to the committee meeting on Monday. To present this.
It's an ongoing issue.
As an ongoing issue.
That's
There you go.
I so recommend.
Okay, do we have a second?
I say,
All in favor?
I,
All right, we don't have anything else on our agenda. So. All in favor of adjournment? Let's go home.